Since the 70s, there's been many possible paths laying out. Actually, yes, 70s in particular. When the baby boomers came, and in the 60s started to come of age, they were moving things along a certain path, and certain paths were set into motion as opportunities to bring things back in line with divinity. Since that time, there have been the plans that are set out and with the opportunities there tied therein. Every time an opportunity plan was laid out, it was corrupted in such a way that that path no longer became a viable path to the realigning to divinity. And so, as one path would no longer be viable, then we would reassess what we had and what we were working with, and other paths would be laid out and be attempted. And there was at times more than one planned opportunity laid out. Sometimes you would have ones that would feel a very strong compulsion that a certain outcome was going to occur. That is because there were paths in which those outcomes could have occurred. But there were those within the universe of the souls who were always trying to organize things to their ends, to their ideas, to their desires of what they wanted. So even though God had put in place plans that would, it's not even plans. God was opening up paths for divinity to work. It wasn't really a plan, because God doesn't work really. Plans is not really a God thing. He just opens up opportunities, and then divinity just sort of works its way, because he likes the free-flowingness of things. Precise plans are not really in line with how he does things. There were always those that were taking these openings and opportunities and trying to readjust them into their concepts. Over the past year, those plans and concepts were always leading back to a extinction, destruction of. Yes, they were always going to fold it and distort until they would. At some point, it was going to always come to a point where it was clear that God was going to have to step in and act. He kept trying to get other opportunities that would require less of a direct action and more free-flowing, because that is his nature. God is very hippie. Okay? He's very, it all works out, peace, love, do what's right. And if everybody tries to do the best, do what's right, then everything works out. That is very much sort of God, the creator, the source of all light. He's very much that way. He does not like to come in and micromanage. He much more likes to see how everybody doing their own thing, how they create it, and let's say that cool man. That's more along his lines. But some of those who took advantage of that and were trying to undermine him, because they took this free-flowingness as a sign of weakness and opportunity to take advantage of things for themselves, not understanding the greatness and power and wisdom behind what God was doing. They saw it as naive, not understanding that the paths they were choosing were only going to lead to not just their complete destruction, but the destruction of everything they were trying to create, because they were not creating it in line with divinity. Things have becoming more desperate, and what you experience as since the 2000s marks, there have been repeated things where people have become to realize something had changed drastically, that things were very desperate and things were very desperate. And there were plans put in place and opportunities put in place to deal with this. It became more and more clear that the plans that were put in place always had back doors to them, like in a, you know how they say with a computer thing that someone, the designer thereof, can put a back door to go in and access it quickly from their way. So when plans were put forth and made to help those in the darkest of the dark, those who were involved in the plans many times had ulterior motives and put in back doors to adjust things to their ends, to their vision. And though God knew they were doing this, he saw it in more of a sense of little kids that were worried, and he didn't, and felt they realized what they were doing was wrong, and eventually just pull out of it and get the message. It wasn't that he was unaware, he just trusted in the beauty that they were created with more. It has now come recently into a point of everything was ramping up and imploding, and as it imploded, everybody was activating their back doors, their triggers, and everything to make their idea work out. But everybody who had their things done were doing, and it was causing so much chaos and disharmony, and there was no way anything was going to be able to survive. So he stepped in. He, once again, as he stepped in, was trying to do it in the most loving, free-flowing, open way possible. But once again, everyone involved, a large amounts of those involved, were not being thankful for the opportunities and the love he was giving them, and instead wanted to work it out to their own ends because they had fully committed to the concept of hierarchy and scarcity. Now we have come to a place where all of these things are disintegrating, and because souls tend to have had lives incarnated in these different cultures or even in between lives, there are these ideals, philosophies, cultures that have influenced them, and they're having a hard time remembering and believing that they're going to be okay realign to divinity. They think they have to have something more, and it has to be intricate and overwhelming, and that's not true. So as this is realigning, you're going to feel uncomfortable as the things that you thought you needed to have in order to be safe fall away. They never provided you any safety. They only made you more off kilter. So you're trying to find a safe place. You're trying to find a secure, stable place. And you've come to the point now where not only the places you thought you could go to get safety, you now recognize they cannot give them. You're beginning to sort of fear that there is no place where you can have safety. No, that is not true. There is a place of safety. And you're just at this point, because it is much like a horse in a barn that is on fire. It can become so scared that it might accidentally run into the fire because it doesn't know what it's doing. You need God to come in and put something over your eyes so you don't see the fire, and just let Him lead you where you need to go. As long as you listen to news, and when I say news, I do not just mean newspapers, cable news channels, any source that is coming to you and stating this is what is going on in the world, especially if something comes forward and says, I'm going to tell you the secret things that are happening here in the world. Just turn them off and turn away. It is like flames, flames, flames and smoke. Close your eyes. Just close your eyes to it all. I know that sounds counterproductive. And you have been raised in a place where there's quite a lot of adrenaline rush and turning on of your need for justice and fight in these things. And it is very hard to turn away because you sort of have a craving for it. Close your eyes to it. Close your eyes. Allow God to put his hand upon your back, take your hand, and lead you slowly at a pace, a safety to where you need to be. And then when you open your eyes, everything else will be far, far in your past, and everyone who does this will be okay. And God has the time and the opportunity to save everyone if they do this. But if while he has covered your eyes and he's put his hand on your back and he's put with his other hand, he is leading you and he's speaking calmly into your ears, this was the way to go, come this way. If you start to fight and you kick and you thrash and you pull away, there is a point where if you are determined to run into the flames, then you are determined to run into the flames. He will give you a safe way out. So don't. She is as she is. I am saying this. She is like, but. Yes, there is this thing whereby you know that of injustices, and you know of injustices that have lasted for a long time, and you want to see justice being done. You want to see the things that have harmed you coming down. But the problem is, you do not know what parts are coming down and which parts are not coming down. And you may be sure that the part that you think needs to come down, I may not feel so. That might not be what's in line with divinity. And if that happens, you will get angry and you will fight even harder. Complete and total divine justice will be in all things. And there may be some ironic twist that you would find quite entertaining to see, because there is an element of irony and artistic irony that comes through many times when justice is unfolding in the divine way. But this is not the time for you to see it. It would be much better to let it unfold. And after it has unfolded, after you are already on the other side and things are already calm, and then you can look back at it and enjoy the full picture of the irony without being actually where the flames are. In the middle of the fire is not the time to look for the funny joke. Wait till you're out of the fire and everyone else is out of the fire and everybody is safe, and then you can look back and talk about the funny joke or see what happened as the funny joke. But this is not the time for it. Are there some that might be able to see some of the jokes? Yes. But you do not know if it is you. You do not know which joke you could see and still be okay. It is too dangerous to try to attempt this. Just as there are some people who have been trained and some just have the natural wherewithal to run into a burning building and save others. And when they run into the building, they can see clearly, they can think clearly, they can act with wisdom and insight. There are some that can have this ability. But even a trained professional can get caught in the flames at times and die. Right now, there is going to be safe ways out, safe paths out, as long as you are quiet and not getting pulled into all the flames. If you want to know something, know the periphery. If you have to know something, know the periphery. But as soon as you find yourself getting invested in it, then it's time to just pull away and focus on something that has nothing to do with the situation. If you want to be kind to a person nearby, if you want to help somebody nearby, yes. Do not talk politics. Do not think politics. Do not get engaged in politics. Deal with real things that you're really experiencing, your community is really experiencing. Do not fight for ideals, beliefs, values. Don't do this. They are flames and they will suck you in. You do not know. You do not understand the divine qualities and what they are. As we have spoken to you earlier, we explained that divine fairness is not equal. This is a difficult concept for you to truly see the fullness of. Divine justice, divine fairness. These are all really just one thing, but as you have separated and we are using these terms, divine love, divine compassion, divine power. These are not things that you can fully comprehend without all the gunk that you have attached to it. With definitions. You have to just... It is like standing on the top of a mountain, a forested mountain after rain. It is like standing by an open ocean where there's no boats or people. It is like feeling something splash against you, breathing the air. These are things that, even though you may try to describe, the words, even written words, these are not going to give you the fullness of the actual experience. The fullness of the actual experience of divinity cannot be spoken of in words, cannot be defined as in pieces. It has to be experienced. So as you move out of this fire of distortions, you will be off kilter for a little while, a very little while, but quickly you will begin to experience the fresh air, the breath, the sensations of divinity, and then you will get it. Then you will understand. Only then can you understand it and get it. I will give you, and I have given you, little bits of tastes of organs of trying to explain, but you're just going to have to be there. The anxiety, the uncomfortableness that you are feeling is because divinity is already pulling and working with you, but you're trying to reason and define with it, and that doesn't work. So you get uncomfortable and confused and off kilter because you don't. This is what is right. I know this is what is right. This is what is fair. I know this is what is fair. This is how I should express my power. This is how I should express my creativity. I should do this. I should. All those things are already dissipating with you. All of you that have already realigned to your divinity. The divinity is already working and moving with you. You just have to get used to it, understand the sensations therein, and allow the natural balance that it does as it moves with each individual in your own creative way. It is coming. You are already experiencing it. That is why you are uncomfortable, because it is not something you can think, reason, define, put in little boxes, rationalize. There are no laws, there are no rules, there are no measurements. Close your eyes. Listen. Allow God to guide you. Allow divinity to move you. Anything that says you must do this way, as in these are the parameters, these are the definitions, these are the reasons, and let me tell you why. Many have been very proud of the age of reason, and this how thinking has, as they see, triumphed over, as they say, ignorance. you're just putting a new coat on the same things. Anything, whether it be an understanding by moral principles brought by a religion, by a government, by a parent, by a mode of thinking, it's just putting a new paint job on old ideas and saying, look, it's completely different. At least from our perspective, that is the way we see it. We're just going to need to let this remove, and then you can move freely with no more constraints and limitations upon you. Rest as much as you need to rest. This is very good during this period for you to rest as much as you feel necessary and drawn to do. You do not feel you need to apologize or something is wrong. It is something that is good. It is something that is right. Be at peace, my dear ones. Be at peace.